Hello everyone. So today we will have a look at another method called the cross multiplication method in order to solve a pair of linear equations. So today we'll follow a bit different approach. We will start with the theory, start with directly the standard form of equations, write some formulas, and then later on concretize the concept by solving the examples. Okay, so let's get started. So the standard form of equation for a pair of linear equation that we have is a1x plus b1y plus c1 is equal to 0. Let's say this as equation 1, and a2x plus b2y plus c2 is equal to 0. Let's say this as equation 2. Okay, so we'll use elimination method that we learned. So we'll try to eliminate y first. So in order to do that, we will multiply equation 1 with b2 so that this becomes b1 b2, and equation 2 by b1 so that this becomes b1 b2, and then we can subtract it, so in order to eliminate y. So what we do, we multiply equation 1 with b2 and equation 2 with b1. So the first equation that we get is a1 b2 x plus b1 b2 y plus b2 c1 equal to 0. This is the first equation after multiplying. The second equation turns out to be a2 b1 x plus b1 b2 y plus b1 c2 equal to 0. So in order to eliminate y, we just subtract these two equations. So while subtracting, this sign changes to minus, this changes to minus, this changes to minus, and now this thing gets eliminated. So we have a1 b2 minus a2 b1 x, and here we have b2 c1 minus b1 c2 is equal to 0. So from this we can reach to x as, if we take this to the other side, we'll get b1 c2 minus b2 c1 by a1 b2 minus a2 b1. Okay, we solve for x here. In order to solve for y, we can either substitute x back into equation 1 and then solve for y, or we can do one thing which would be better, is to just eliminate variable x. So in order to eliminate x, we multiply first equation with a2 and the second equation with a1. So instead of multiplying with b2 b1, we multiply with a2 and a1. So the equation that we will get would be a1 a2x plus b1 a2y plus c1 a2 is equal to 0, and the second equation would be a1 a2x plus a1 b2y plus c2 a1 is equal to 0. Now let's just subtract these two, minus minus. What do we get? These terms cancel out and we get b1 a2 minus a1 b2 y, sorry for the spacing, plus c1 a2 minus c2 a1 is equal to 0. So what do we have here? If we write here as y, and so this will be c2 a1 minus c1 a2 divided by b1 a2 minus a1 b2. Just one more step to make the denominator same, we take minus common, the minus gets cancelled out, so we get is c1 a2 minus c2 a1 divided by a1 b2 minus a2 b1. Okay, so one thing which we could observe here is the denominator is the same in both the case. So we have x by b1 c2 minus b2 c1. This is equal to 1 by a1 b2 minus a2 b1. And if we just write it for y as well, so it will be equal to y divided by c1 a2 minus c2 a1. So we are getting towards a formula somewhere. Like directly starting with the coefficients, we can reach at the conclusion, we can reach at the final value. If we just plug in b1, c2, all the coefficients value into these equations, we'll get value for x and value for y. But there might be a small problem. If this term here is 0, if a1 b2 minus a2 b1 is equal to 0, then we will have a problem. Then anything divided by 0, it won't make sense, it's undefined. So what do we have here? This implies a1 b2 is equal to a2 b1, or a1 by a2 is equal to b1 by b2. Now we had seen in our earlier lecture that if a1 by a2 is equal to b1 by b2 is equal to c1 by c2, then we'll have a coincident line and infinitely many solution. Whereas if we have a1 by a2 is equal to b1 by b2 is not equal to c1 by c2, then we will have parallel lines and there will be no solution. This we had discussed earlier in one of our lectures. You can refer to that. So with this, so this is why I had covered this earlier, that anytime you start with an equation, you always check for this ratios in your mind. You quickly do the ratio calculation, a1 by a2, b1 by b2. If they are equal, then it will be that either they will have no solution or they will have coincident. Then you don't need to go further into thinking about how to solve or what are the exact values. Okay, so let us say the case is of where a1 by a2 ratio is not equal to b1 by b2. That is, we are not dealing with parallel lines or coincident lines. Then we get a formula for finding the solution for x and y. Okay, so let us do one thing. Let us simply write the coefficients here, starting with b1, b2. Then we have c1, c2. Let's say we write x here at the top. Then we have y, and after c1, c2, you go to a1, a2, and here you just have 1 and back to b1, b2. So now the way this thing works is you have the formula here. So if you make an observation, the way you write this equation is you multiply these two terms, b1 c2 minus b2 c1 minus b2 c1. Okay, so that we have the term for x divided by b1 c2 minus b2 c1. Okay, this will be equal to, now for y, what do we first we write here as y divided by c1 a2 minus c2 a1 minus c2 a1, and this will be equal to 1 divided by a1 b2 minus a2 b1 minus a2 b1. And now you can directly plug in the values here and find out the solution. Okay, so let us quickly do an example here. So let's say we have first equation as x minus 2y is equal to 0, and second equation as 3x plus 4y minus 20 equal to 0. Okay, so let us write the coefficients in this pattern. So first we say we write x, then you have b1, b2. So b1 is minus 2, b2 is 4, c1, c2. c1 is 0, c2 is minus 20, and then we have y, and we write a1 a2. So a1 is 1, a2 is 3, a1 is 1, a2 is 3, and then in the end we have again b1 b2 minus 2 by 4. So now we write x divided by minus 2 multiplied by minus 20 is 40 minus this thing. So first we took this minus 4 multiplied by 0 is equal to y divided by 0 multiplied by 3 is 0 minus 20. So it will be plus 20. And this will be equal to 1 divided by 1 multiplied by 4 is 4 minus times minus 6. So 4 plus 6 will be 10. And therefore now we have x is equal to 40 by 10 or equal to 4, and we have y as 20 by 10 equal to 2. So 4 comma 2 is the solution for this. And in the very beginning, like now when we are starting this method, you need to you have this need to write all of this in this pattern and then follow this and write this. But then as you practice more and more, just directly by looking at the equation, so you start with x and then you multiply these two terms, this into this minus this into this, so you write that here is equal to y divided by. So here is a bit tricky. You need to think about this term multiplied by this term multiplied by this, and this will be equal to 1 by this into this minus this into this. So it will come into practice. We will have will practice more examples in the next lecture. Thank you.